Why we say yes, and why no seems so hard. A friend has called you and made an incredible offer. He or she has 2 free tickets for excellent seats at an upcoming game of a professional sports team that he knows you love. For me, that call was for an important Patriots home game, just a half hour from my house. This friend, whom I'll call Bob, was a relatively new acquaintance, someone whose company I always enjoyed whenever we got together. Most football fans would have jumped at the chance and said, "Wow, thank you." But that is not what I felt. I wasn't pumped up to go, but I didn't want to let my buddy down, so I stalled for time and said something like, "That is really nice of you. Let me check with my girlfriend and make sure she doesn't have something planned that day, and I'll get back to you." Now you might say that is the coward's way out, and maybe it was, but I needed a little time to think about why I wasn't enthusiastic about going. The answers came within a couple of minutes. The playoff contest would be played outside in December. I'd been to a game before and found watching on TV was just as rewarding, and finally, it would be a several-hour commitment, traffic, waiting in line, etc. But the biggest reason going to the game didn't interest me was that I was looking forward to a quiet Sunday to work on a writing project. Simply put, the prospect of writing and the accompanying feeling of productivity toward a personal goal was more important to me than the Patriots. So why couldn't I tell my friend that? I was afraid it would hurt his feelings. After all, he went out of his way to make a generous offer to me. I didn't want to be impolite. Now, had this offer come to me many years ago, I would have ignored my true feeling about the game and accepted the offer. I'm sure I would have enjoyed the contest and his companionship, but in the back of my mind, while waiting in traffic to get to the stadium, I would likely have been thinking, why did I accept? I could have been working on my project and watched the last quarter of the game on TV. Instead, I called up my friend and said, "I'm going to pass on the Patriots. I'm just not into live events with crowds, and the cold weather gets to me. I also have a writing project I need to work on. I sure appreciate you thinking of me. Let's watch another game at my house sometime soon." I made sure Bob knew I wasn't wild about crowds because I didn't want him to ask me another time and feel uncomfortable all over again. Too often, after a person says no, they feel a bit guilty, and the next time an invite comes, they feel a self-induced pressure compelling them to say yes. And I closed my conversation with the intention that I would still like to watch games with my friend if they were on TV. That way, he knew my response had nothing to do with our friendship, but just my personal preference for watching football. And writers work unusual days and hours. Did my friend sound disappointed? I didn't think so. He did what any good friend would do and respected my decision. Not everyone would act that way, but if so, are they really friends? My answer to Bob was not a couple of minutes in the making, but years of transitioning from an automatic yes man to a let me think about it man. Notice that I didn't give Bob an honest answer right off the bat, but instead said I'd get back to him. I use this example because it shows that even now, after years of saying no, it's not always an easy thing to do. But I don't beat myself up when I occasionally make up an excuse rather than explain the real reason for a no. After all, during my entire childhood, it was ingrained in me to be polite and put the other person's feelings first. And throughout my 20s and into my 30s, societal norms and peer pressure only reinforced that notion. It wasn't until an event occurred in my mid-30s that I started consciously trying to break myself of my yes habit. I'll explain more about how that event helped free me in a later chapter. I learned that saying no is not being impolite, but rather a way to be a more thoughtful and conscious person regarding how you spend your time. Time is the most important thing you have, and yet we give it away without consideration. In this book, you will learn that taking back control of your time can be done, and it is not selfish or